Random rolls. We are live here this week, and Jeff is choking on his drink like normal.
There
You
we go.
caught me. Oh, hey,
Wow.
look. You can see me. You can see me now.
Now at least he's not choking on something else.
Whoa.
Oh, hey-oh.
Looks like there is a 5 or 6 second delay. So, I'm the Evil Dungeon Master, along with finally the Jeff right here. You can see his face. And there's the Rob, who's joining us this week.
Yes, I feel special.
Jeff has been brought to you by. I'll tell him new.
Yeah. But yeah, I want to thank for seeing me. I want to thank Stephanie and Marcurius for really stepping up and helping me out. I appreciate very much. I know Vince appreciates it because he was getting tired of his mug being the only one on here, but I sincerely appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yes, they both donated some money to the cause so we can get Jeff his green screen background, and then my wife donated her camera to Jeff to get Jeff's ugly face on there too. So
And thank you, the evil DM's wife.
There we go. Hey, by the way, what is that background?
This
is
one?
It, yeah, what is it?
Random one I found online.
Oh,
yeah.
it's a
So
nice color.
I put in free green gaming wall art background. So there you go. You want to zoom in on me so people can see my background?
no, it's fine.
Come on.
We should just talk about his background.
Yeah, just talk about my background. You like it?
Do you have a
very
hat?
aesthetic.
Do you have a hat you want to talk about for about a half hour, or
Where to go? Where to go?
All right.
would you rather?
Actually, I got a good. Would you rather?
Okay.
I got a good one.
All right.
All right, ready?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So, would you rather
Mhm.
never have to sleep again, or never have to eat or drink again? Like you're never hungry, you're never thirsty, ever again, or you never sleep.
Well, let me ask you the question. If you choose the eat or drink, can you still eat and drink?
Theoretically, I'm not sure. You might have to throw it up because you're. I mean, it's like like in Vampire the Masquerade, how they talked about like vampires that would eat, but then they would have to vomit it up later.
Mm-hmm.
And here's another thing. If you really think about it, you probably never actually crave food. I mean, if you're never hungry,
Yeah,
Well,
you
I
would
never
never crave it. Yeah.
I guess I would go with sleep then.
I would definitely go with sleep.
Because I enjoy the taste. I enjoy the feeling of food. You know how it it fills you up in all the right ways. That savory, delicious, buttery, almost tangy taste that you get.
Tell me
You gotta
more,
fill-
Jeff.
Yeah, you got to fill that orifice, right?
Gotta have it full of meat.
Shove meat in that orifice. That's all you
That's
care
right.
about. No, I would go without having to eat or drink. And here's my reason.
Yeah,
Okay?
tell me.
Well, you're free. Think about it. You're free. You can go live off in the mountains. You can walk across the desert. You never have to worry about society breaking down. And I mean, because that's the thing, is like people who choose no sleep, they they think about it from the point of view that there's always going to be food available, right? But if you never have to eat or drink, I could go live off in the mountains somewhere, and I never have to worry about it.
I mean, you have
But
to do a little bit of
but
worrying. You have to sleep somewhere.
well, I mean that's sleep. Well, that's the thing though. I mean, for one thing, I love sleep. I gotta escape from the world sometimes, you know. And but man, it's like how many times I fantasize about just becoming a mountain man in the mountains and just like moving off and just building a little like shelter up, because I live in the mountains. So I like look around and I'm like, man, I wish I could just go up there and live. But then I start thinking about food and water. I'm like, well, I'm shackled,
Hmm.
because I'm not, I'm not a great hunter and all this other stuff. I'd probably starve to death, within a month, you know. Or Go live on a desert island. Never die of thirst or hunger. Oh, man, that would be the ultimate freedom. But think about it. If you never sleep, that means you're going to be consuming you're going to have to consume twice as many calories, right? You'll probably balloon. You'll probably get bored to death. Sooner or later, you're going to get bored.
Yeah.
I'll just podcast the whole time. That's all.
There you go. Oh, you're going to become like Edward from Twilight.
I'm going to sparkle.
No, it's like they never slept. So he was like, well, I guess that'd be kind of cool because, you learn a lot of stuff,
I mean,
Take up
your scenario is very
classes.
situational dependent.
Well, yeah, but the situation, though, is the worst possible situation, which I always think about. I'm what you call a optimistic pessimist.
I didn't know that was possible, but okay.
Yeah, I know, right?
Planning for the worst.
Yeah. It's like I hope for the best, but I plan for the worst.
So, Jeff, you got your would you rathers now. You sent a whole bunch.
I did. And I sent them to you so you can kind of think about the question and, think about the scenario and, how to answer it. So you can add in your own thoughts and opinions.
No, I have no opinions.
Okay. I'm glad you've put that out first. Would you rather play in a game with a great story? Would you rather play in a game with a great story but poor role playing? Or would you rather host a game with great role players and a bad story?
Can I answer?
Yeah, go for it.
You both can answer.
Great role players, because the thing about it is the story comes out of the role play.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's like you can have the greatest story of all time, but if you have a bunch of people that are giving you the googie eyes, or you're trying, it doesn't matter. You can, it's one of those, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have good role players, they'll create the story.
Yeah. I like good role players too, because like Rob said, you can always have fun with the role players. If the story sucks, just role play with the group.
Yeah.
Okay. I would agree. I think I like the better role players myself rather than rather than a good story. I mean, I like hearing a good story, but that doesn't really make the game, does it now?
Yeah. I mean, but the thing about it is, I think it goes back to if the story is more important than the role players, then the whole, you should be writing a novel and not running a game.
Yeah, that's true.
That is true.
All right, next one. Would you rather have to travel to different locations if it gave you the options of having side missions, or would you rather have to be portaled or teleported to the missions and not have to deal with any side missions?
I think it depends on the severity of the mission. Like if this is like some sort of world event where if you do not accomplish a mission, like the world will just be destroyed, then you don't want to be distracted by side quests, right?
Like that smash button.
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean,
yeah.
But then again, some games are not, saving the world.
Yeah, I mean, if it's like something like, hey, you want to go and find the lost artifact of Hoochie Coochie? Oh, sure. Okay.
I love that artifact.
And then you're like, oh, look, a little side quest, But if it's like, hey, you know what? A giant asteroid is about to hit the Earth. And if you don't get to this point and if you don't like cry tears of joy on the statue of Oompa Loompa, I think time is of the essence. And if you have somebody who's willing to teleport you there, you know what you could do? You could teleport there, get the mission done, and then just casually travel back and do all the side missions.
Well, you already have the mission. You'd be teleporting to the specific location to get the Hoochie Coochie statue.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like get the main mission done first, and then you can casually travel back and do all the side stuff. Because there's no urgency anymore. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
I think I would just do the side missions. I like side missions. I'm not like, one of those people that's going to be rushing forward in the campaign and ruining it for other people. So,
What if it's
It sure would have helped Frodo. It should have helped them guys out if Gandalf just had a teleport spell. You say, okay, Mount Doom. Boop.
why didn't he just use the eagles, right?
You know what? Can we talk about this for a second?
go
I
ahead.
guess so. Go
Okay.
ahead.
This is like, because this is one of my biggest. Everybody's like, why didn't I use the Eagles? Okay, there's a whole list of reasons why they didn't use the Eagles. One, the Eagles are sentient beings and not pets. They're not just at their beck and call. Two, you're talking about Sauron, who, like at least in the movies, was a big giant freaking eyeball, right? Would have seen him coming miles away. Okay, they would have the Eagles once the Eagles got anywhere near Mordor, they would have been attacked left and right. Okay, there would be no way they would have been just to be able to just casually fly to Mount Doom under those circumstances. One of the things you have to think about what the Fellowship of the Ring was they were like the equivalent of a special forces team that were sent to infiltrate enemy territory and complete a mission. If we use the idea that Eagles were the cure all for everything, then why don't we think about it, in the real world, instead of sending like SEAL Team 6 or the Green Beret, whoever, just send F-16s to complete the mission. But we don't do that because there's a lot of problems that come with it. Because sometimes the best missions, or to accomplish a mission, has to be done with absolute secrecy. And flying around on giant eagles, that ain't secret.
Yeah. Plus, they're in Philadelphia, so it'd be hard.
Yeah,
to
yeah.
It's pretty hard to get the military from Philadelphia. No, when it comes to the giant eagles, I believe the story goes, one, they could have done it if they had all the eagles with them. They could have easily gone to Mountain Doom and destroyed the ring. The problem with that would be is they would kind of leave their hatcheries unguarded in the Grey Mountains, which I believe they were fighting Sauron's northern army, keeping them at bay.
Yeah, that's true.
So there was an actual reason why the eagles weren't just used. It was like, here, I'm dropping you off. Now I got to go back and protect my my nest.
There you go. All right. What's the next one?
Well, I'm waiting for Vince to answer the.
I'm sorry, Vince.
I thought I answered it already. The side quest or which one?
It was it the side quest one?
Yeah, I already answered the side quest one.
Yeah.
I said I'd rather do the side quest. I'm not someone that wants to push forward the party and just make them move forward regardless.
What about if it's world ending?
Well, if it's world ending, then obviously I want to port right to the end.
You wouldn't want to do all the side quests before you had to save the princess?
No, if it's world ending, why would I go, well, let me go to these side quests.
Hold on, this lady needs me to help her with her chickens.
Now, here's a question. Does it require, is this like a level-based situation where you need to be like 10th plus level before you can handle the situation? So you need to go do all the side quests in order to get all the treasure and the experience points before you get to the end?
Jeff?
Well, I mean, it's a scenario either way. But I mean, I'm trying to think of a good scenario where the side quest would help you level up to get to the bad guy, which I think almost all of them do anyway.
If you want to read the guy who's the master of side quests in the story, it would be Robert Jordan with the Wheel of Time series.
Wheel Time series, yes.
Dude,
Yeah,
I mean, this guy
they're-
was in love with the side quest.
it's a slow read book.
Yeah.
I know. That's not even the best word to describe
Yeah.
it, but I know.
It was like, do you realize how many characters are named in that series? Like 1,300.
Jeez.
We're talking about named characters as well over 1,000. Okay,
Are there like 35 Freds and 25 Johns?
dude. I mean, there is a lot, like, because it was like, every book was basically like every book after the like second book or something. I mean, it was like all side quests, But here's the thing, though. They would, the good thing about it, though, they would always get something to kind of power themselves up, like some sort of artifact or power up or something like that. So to a certain extent, the side quests actually built them up in power,
Okay.
for the final battle.
Well, I mean, me and Vince were doing a thing for our members not too long ago where we were giving like story prompts and whatnot.
I have that.
Mm-hmm. And one
It's
of
on
them
my
was
website.
one of them was about doing side quests before a main mission. And so
Yeah.
to better achieve the main mission, the more side quests you did, the better the easier the main mission went.
Yeah. I mean, to a certain extent, it's kind of metagamey thinking if you think about it, because if if it's an important enough mission, it's always going to have like a time crunch to it, and unless it's like something sort of like, if it was like set up sort of like it was set up in Wheel of Time, where it's like the so-called final battle is not, there's no set date, right? It's sometime in the future, and so you're just kind of going around, you're doing these all of this other stuff, these side quests in preparation for the so-called upcoming battle, right? Makes sense.
You talking about the scenario I came up with?
Which, I'm sorry, which, are you talking about the one you just said?
Yeah.
But here's the thing: it's like, I guess we need more context. Like, what is the final mission? What is it? Like, what's the
Well, he
what
said
are
it's world
the-
endings. He gave us more
Okay, so
context. He
it is
said
world.
world ending.
Like I said, if it's like now here's the thing: do we know when the world is going to end? Is this something that's going to happen in a year, or is it happening tomorrow?
Well, you'll have to become a member to find out, but the time frame was 2 weeks.
The time frame was 2 weeks.
Yeah.
What kind of transportation are we talking about? Walking, like walking to Mordor, or are we talking about, you have a sky ship?
It was, you had to complete so many missions in 2 weeks, and the more missions you completed with your team, the easier the end game would be.
Oh, then yeah, I mean
That's 2 weeks of traveling. So
yeah, I mean, how would you travel though? Horse, foot?
yeah, horse, foot, wagon. There's no magical flying creatures that's going to take you from here to there.
Mm-hmm. And as the crow flies, how far away is the final destination?
Oh, you had 2 weeks.
Well, yeah, but I mean, do I have 2 weeks to cover 1,000 miles or 2 weeks to cover 100 miles?
To get to each side mission was about a day. To get there.
Okay. I mean, like I said, if the final mission was dependent on the side quests, then obviously you would have no choice but to do the side quests.
Yeah. The more you did, though, the better it would be.
Like, maybe each side quest was a piece of a puzzle, right?
Sort of
like the rod,
yeah.
like the which is the rod of many parts or something. What is it called?
The Hoochie Coochie statue.
There.
The
I like
Hoochie
that.
Coochie statue.
We're gonna have to use that from our games.
A testy tickler.
That's the next thing that for Starfighter will be the Hoochie Coochie statue we have to find.
Yeah. So it's like the rod of 7 parts. That's it. So if it was like the rod of 7 parts, where each
Kill Raven.
each
Kill Raven
was at these locations, that would make 100% sense.
Yeah.
See,
What's
I
in?
have another one. I have another one like that. But we continue on.
How about the rod of 7 inches? All right.
No, I won't. I'll leave that alone.
All
All right. So, would you rather have a flying mount that was unreliable or a ground mount that was always reliable?
Well,
So,
you wouldn't want to fly on something that's unreliable.
so it would fly you, right? But you know,
But when you
You're
needed him,
fl-
he wasn't there.
yeah, it's like if you need to escape, he or she may or may not be there.
So like if you go to whistle for it or something, it'd be like, hello.
Oh.
Yeah.
It flies by flipping you off. Wow, that's great,
Yeah.
Jeff.
Give me reliability any day.
Yeah, I'd take the mount on the ground, right? Reliable, yeah.
It could be like Shadowfax, right? Not just any
It's
common
just a horse.
mount. Oh, just
It's
horse.
a mule.
Hey man,
I'm
mules
still
are
taking-
pretty badass.
I'll still take it.
It's a super reliable turtle.
It could be like Sam the mule in Lord of the Rings, or not Sam. What was the pony's name?
Bill.
Bill the pony. Yes, Bill the pony was reliable.
Mm-hmm. Bill the pony was always reliable.
Yes.
I mean, it could be a turtle. Turtles can be fast. Just look at the never ending story. That was a snail, wasn't it?
That was a snail.
That's-
Can it be a turtle on a skateboard?
Ooh.
Ooh,
Yeah,
have you
I'll
actually
give you
seen
that.
those? Yeah. I thought you. Yeah. Jeff, when you get a chance, there are some really cool little videos. Somebody decided to like put their little pet turtles on a skateboard.
I've seen
Uh,
it. The one that
yeah,
messes with
dude,
the
and they're-
dog or the
and they're
cat.
like, and they're chasing around the cat, and the cat's like, ah.
Yeah,
runs
that
off.
turtle really took to that skateboard like
Mm.
that. He was like,
Yeah, it was like-
yeah.
That turtle was like, man, I have never gone this fast in my life.
I've seen turtles do it. You've seen dogs do it.
Yeah.
I think
Some
you've
of
seen
those
a
dog-
cat on
man,
a surfboard. What?
Some of these dogs, man, they are master skateboarders, man. They're doing like all kinds of crazy tricks on their skateboards.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Unbelievable, man. If I got on a skateboard, I'd instantly hurt my groin because I would. No, seriously, man. When I was a kid, there's a reason because I tried to teach myself how to, ride a skateboard when I was a kid,
Yeah.
and I borrowed a friend, and I'm like, and I'm getting on the skateboard, and I end up doing the splits, right? Because I couldn't stop my other foot. Now, if you guys remember the 80s, remember those shorts called jams?
Yeah.
And they had the real low crotch?
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I literally I did a perfect splits. My jams split up both sides.
Ouch.
So I was like having to hold my pants together, run home. And I was like, you know what? I'm never getting on another skateboard again. That was it. That was the end of it.
See, what they should have done is give you one of those fat boards, those long boards.
Yeah.
I want to try one of those, but I live out in the middle of nowhere, so nowhere really to skate.
That's the
Yeah.
perfect place to skate. No one out there.
Yeah, just mud and no roads.
Oh,
You know
wow.
what you should do? You should do you live on your own land?
Yeah.
Why don't you, make a little, pour some, cement or something and make a little skate park.
Well, if people want to donate for me to start
No.
pouring cement on my my land,
No,
we can
no,
work on that.
people already donated to get you the stuff that you're using right now, so it's enough.
Cement fund. No.
There we go.
No, we're not going to have a cement fund for you. No, thank you.
Get them an outdoor pool. Like during the summer, it's for swimming. During the winter, it's for skateboarding.
Ah.
There we go.
Off-road
Off-road.
skateboarding.
Actually, I think that's actually a thing too.
Hey, World of Wonders. Welcome to stream
World.
tonight. Welcome back.
Hey, just think about this. When we finally get the hoverboards from Back to the Future 2.
I thought we already had them.
Not yet.
Well, oh, you know what? I've seen
Most
them
of
where
them-
they were on those wheels or those balls.
They caught on fire, most of them.
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
But when we get to true hover technology, I mean, terrain is not going to mean anything anymore.
True.
What do you mean by true hover technology?
Like
Where it's
Back
like
to the
you're,
Future.
yeah, like you're actually
Non-propelled.
hovering. There's no like balls or whatever. It's like separate. It's just pure hover
Like without like
with no strings
engines
attached.
and without propellers or whatnot.
Oh, I mean, there'd be propulsion, but you wouldn't be touching the ground in any way, shape, form, or fashion. You would be hovering over the terrain. You would just be. Beep, 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 beep.
I say because they have those right now. They're like drone technology.
Well, yeah, I
This
mean
is
they have.
this is
but
what they consider hoverboards, which is not a hoverboard.
no,
It's a
I don't.
hoverboard. I've seen them on commercials.
Yeah, but these aren't a hoverboard.
They're not hovering over everything, but they are hovering.
here's the test: if you can ride that thing over rough terrain, then it's a hoverboard.
They
If you
have
can't ride it
off-road
over rough terrain,
segways.
it's not a hoverboard.
Segways are really weird to use.
They're also out
I
of
haven't really
business, I
seen those
believe.
around much lately.
Jeff, you did security. Did your company have hoverboards? I mean, segways.
They did, but I've never used one.
Yeah,
When I worked at the casino, they had them for security. They were the weirdest things to drive around.
Be like Paul Blart.
Yeah.
Hey!
Both of you guys were in security at one time.
Yeah, I went to security surveillance for the casinos.
I was also in security for over 10 years.
I was 8 years with surveillance. So, did you work at a casino or private?
No, actually, I worked I worked in downtown Houston in a 14-story parking garage.
And what'd you do? Just make sure people's cars weren't broken into, watch cameras.
Dude, I'm telling you, man, that was like a battle every night, dude. It's like because the owners refused to like lock any of the doors, and like a constant flood of homeless people were constantly coming in, and so I was having to deal with homeless people every night. I was having to deal with drunk people every night. I was having to, I got some horror stories for you, man. I got
I have
run
plenty
over.
of those for the casino.
Yeah. Some people one time tried to run me. Well, they did run me over with your car, and because
I got shot at with a paintball gun when I was doing a Taco Bell security.
Did you survive?
No, I didn't survive. Jeff.
undead, Vince is undead.
So
what level are you?
The evil undead GM.
Yeah.
So what we had to do was, this was the stupidest thing. They hired us for security. This is back when I first started security. They wanted us to stand in the place at night and escort teenagers out if they weren't eating anything after a while. They didn't want them in there. So if they ate something, they were allowed to sit there for an hour, and that was it. And then you had to be like, "Excuse me, you need to leave."
So if they bought like a nacho platter, and they ate one chip per hour, technically they would.
As long as they were eating the food, it was fine. But if they ate the food and they were done, that's when the manager was like, "You need to get them out of here." What was even worse was when the place. Remember how Taco Bell used to close down, but it kept the drive-thrus open only. They wanted me to walk around the parking lot to tell people to get out of there, to don't eat the food in the parking lot.
Now that I think of it, I don't think I've ever seen like any of the Taco Bells I've been to.
They don't do it anymore.
Oh yeah. You want to hear the?
Wait up. 1 second. I'm almost done. And then I told these people to get the hell out of the parking lot. Well, nicely, and they came back with paintballs and shot at me, and I was like, you know what? I called the company up and said, I'm not doing this site ever again. Get me somewhere else, otherwise I'm contacting an attorney. So,
wow, man,
they moved me.
Yeah, what's strange? One of the weirdest things that ever happened to me, it's security. It had nothing to do with security. It was like it's kind of weird because it was like 11, 12 o'clock at night. Okay, so I'm a security guard working in an all-night garage. Okay, so I pull out my laptop and I decide, hey man, I'm gonna watch a movie, right? So I decided I'm gonna watch The Human Centipede 2. Okay, have you guys
all movies you wanted to watch The Human Centipede 2?
Yes. Have you guys ever seen it?
I've seen the first one.
I haven't even seen the first one.
Okay. No, the first one is tame compared to the second two. Tame.
Jeez.
Here's the point. Here's the point, right? So I open up the laptop. I start watching this movie. And the opening scene is the main guy. He's like the bad guy, right? He is a security guard working in a in a garage at night.
Watching Centipede 1?
Yes.
What? Really?
Meta.
Yes, 100%. He was doing the exact same thing I was doing. It was a virtual centipede. And
It's just-
Fourth wall break centipede.
yeah, I mean,
Dude,
you must have been
seriously.
freaked out.
Dude, I was freaked out, man, because I was literally doing exactly what this dude was doing. Every aspect of it. And it freaked me out so much that I almost quit my job.
Don't blame you.
Wow.
Yeah. That was a surreal moment, man. Whew. But anyway, let's get back to gaming.
All right, so last
Yeah.
would you rather?
Mm-hmm.
Let me close this down real quick. Okay, easy one. Kind of.
Uh-oh.
Would
Okay.
you rather have an urban campaign or a wilds campaign?
Urban is in like a city campaign.
Yeah, like downtown Rome during the Roman Empire.
Are we assuming that all of these things are like basically your D&D style campaigns,
Yeah.
or are we talking about?
It could be any game. I think he's just
Modern.
he's generalizing
sci-fi,
it.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, if you're doing like Vampire the Masquerade, you want urban. Now, what's great about an urban environment is that you can create a lot of interesting NPCs that are always like right there. You know what I mean?
How long did we stay in the city in the World of Arcanus, Jeff, when you guys were floating around from place to place? So the entire
It was
episode.
It was a town. Oh, we talking about the city? It was like 2 episodes.
No, you guys spent all that time chasing. Maybe you weren't around then playing in the game.
Oh, World
we
of
spent-
Arcana? I
Yeah,
wasn't there.
yeah, because we spent like an entire season of them running around the city trying to chase the robe figure guy and the Duke and everything like that. So
Yeah, I mean, yeah, urban games can be a lot of fun because, like I said, if you want like reoccurring NPCs that are easily accessible,
Mhm.
and there's so many layers to like a city, like cities like Waterdeep, right? Has all types of crazy stuff to it.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of like fantasy cities that have multiple levels. Like if you want to like dungeon delve, you can go down into the sewers or into the ruins underneath. A lot of times these mega cities are built on top of older ruins, right?
right. Mm-hmm.
And then you have political intrigue right there. I mean, it's like if you think about it, a city has urban adventures have everything all there, that you can just walk down the street and you can get into some shenanigans. Wilderness adventures, well, wilderness, to me, the wilderness is like it's something you travel through, right? To get from
Generally,
point A
yeah.
to point, yeah, to get from point A to point B.
Well, but I mean, you could still have a hex crawl game and still have a
Oh,
lot of
yeah,
fun
sure.
crawling through a hex in the wilderness and mountains and
Oh, yeah.
everything.
Yeah, but in the wilderness, you're looking for something. You're not just there to be there, right? You're not just hanging out in the woods, unless you're a ranger or a druid, of course.
Maybe just
But
like maybe just like the woods, man.
Yeah, you don't have to be You don't have to be nature
Yeah.
as a class to enjoy going out
Yeah.
to
Oh, I mean, yeah,
have a nice
yeah,
hike or a picnic.
yeah.
Yeah.
But sooner or later, you want to go back to civilization,
Yeah, maybe,
Yeah.
depending.
or you want to build your own city out in the woods. Build your
Or
keep.
I mean, I guess the
Right.
the reverse would be a ranger going into the city, be like, "Man, can't wait to go back home into the wilds."
Now, in the Rangers Handbook, they have something called the Urban Ranger, which is one of the kits in the Rangers Handbook.
Oh yeah, that's right.
They
Kits.
specialized. Yeah, they specialized in urban settings.
I'll break it down for you. Kits, prestige classes.
Oh,
That's them fancy fangled second edition
Yeah.
that Rob loves, of course.
what level do you have to be to prestige?
No, no, kits are not really prestige class. They're just add-ons to the core class to basically kind of, give it
Oh,
some
like
flavor.
mods.
Yeah.
They
Yeah,
were prestige classes before the term prestige, pretty much.
actually, I would, no, let me tell you something where the first prestige class came from.
Hmm.
First edition, the Bard. That is a prestige class.
That's a multi-class inside of a multi-class.
Well, that's what a prestige class is. A
Mhm.
prestige class from 3 point, the third edition is when you have to have certain class levels in various classes, and once you hit those class levels, then you can basically turn into that prestige class. So really, the first example of a prestige class is the Bard from first edition.
Yeah, and then the Thief Acrobat.
Yeah. So you can blame first edition for the prestige classes.
And then you just went wild with it in second edition and put out thousands of splat books and killed the company. So
No.
You'll have to explain. You have to explain splat books to me.
splat books are all those. You remember second edition kept coming out with all those little books that were just like this: the Necromancer's Handbook, the Castle Handbook, the I don't really need this handbook. Those were all splat books. They called them splat books.
Oh, I got a lot of use out of those books, man. One of my favorite characters was a swashbuckler from he was a swashbuckler
Everybody
from
wanted to
Fighter.
play a swashbuckler in second edition.
Dude,
It was like
swashbucklers were
every time.
badass, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like from the Fighter's Handbook. His name was Cyrano Jones.
That's a cool name, Cyrano Jones. I like that.
Yeah.
Where'd you come up with that name?
That was actually one of my first characters I ever made. His name was Cyrano Jones.
Aw, back when you were little Rob.
Yeah. Unfortunately, and he was pretty badass, but he got killed
Oh,
in such a ridiculous way. We were actually in the Forgotten Realms. We were in the Great Glacier area, and we were in this kind of complex, like inside the glacier. And me and the paladin and the thief, we ran into this room, and there was this door. Right, I think we were running from a vampire. I think that was the whole thing. We were like, this vampire was chasing us, and I was like, me and the paladin started arguing about who's going to open the door, and I'm like, well, you have the better armor class, you should open the door, blah blah blah. And so we're like standing in front of the door, or we're standing out in the room, and the thief just goes up, and he just opens the door. Well, it turns out the only one who was safe was the person who did open the door, because all of a sudden it's like the floor swiveled, we fell through, right? And and I fell on a bunch of spears. In the dungeon master, he
Whoa.
rolled. Well, he rolled, so I got falling damage plus spear damage, and then there was the thing where like the falling, I just needed to roll my saving throw. Right?
Did they fix falling damage in second edition?
I mean, it's like a d6 per 10 feet.
Oh, so they didn't do it like Gary did, like cumulative every 10 feet. He added the inertia to it, so it was
No, it was
1d6,
like
then 2d6 plus 1d6, then 3d6 plus 2d6 plus 1d6. That's how Gary
no. It was just simply 1d6
for
per.
10
So
feet.
if you fell 20 feet, is 2d6. But anyway, I just had to make my saving throw. I just had to roll like a 3 or higher. My saving throws were like just outlandish, right? And I rolled a 2.
Mm.
And I got and they said, like, and it was like I was using a red D20. And you have to understand, I was really attached to Cyrano Jones. And they said that when I was holding up that die, that red die, that my face was so red that all they saw was floating numbers. That's how angry I was. But you know what? I'll never forget it. I'll
Good.
never forget that.
So both the characters died, just you and the other guy.
What? No, the paladin survived.
So why didn't the paladin throw you on his back and bring you to town to resurrect you?
I don't know. Then I found out later that I don't think the guys I were playing with, I think they kind of frowned on resurrection. They were really kind of hard asses in a lot of ways. But then it turned out that I think because the dungeon master had a bunch of demons like tear my body apart and ate them. So
Jeez.
Wow, that's drastic. I can't tell you how many times we played in the park when we were kids. If one of us died, the other guy threw him on the back and walked around until we found someone to resurrect him. Cost a lot of money, but you know.
Yeah. No, the McSpadden brothers, man, they were like real hardcore about stuff, man. I learned some hard lessons playing with those guys. You know?
you can't play by every letter of the game. That's just not possible.
Well, no, it wasn't like that, but they were very like, you die, you die. Too bad, how sad, cry somewhere else. That type of attitude.
That's
Well, I
messed
guess.
up. I mean, you could be really attached to a
I
character
love it.
like you were.
That's
Yeah.
all I knew back then. It's like, I mean, we were real, they were real strict about stuff, and
And we're lucky that Rob didn't turn into one of those evil people like Jack Chick predicted in his little cartoons.
there we go. Yeah,
Rob wasn't too attached that he had to go around killing people in real life because his character died.
yeah. Hey, man, that's my villain arc right there.
Just screaming at your top of your lungs, Cyrano Jones.
Yeah.
It's funny that those Chick tracks were from the 80s, but they still exist today.
They're very entertaining.
Yeah, and people still stick them in gaming books. I have one. I just found one when I was going to Half Price Books. There was one stuck in a D&D book. I was like, really? Come on. I haven't seen this since the 80s.
Did you see the movie? There's a movie, right?
No, wait. Yes, I did. Yeah, there was that brief movie that they made. Yeah.
Yeah, it was actually. I remember it actually had a more production value than maybe that it deserved.
What movie? I don't know.
It's based off the one where the anti Dungeons and Dragons one where the girl is seduced by the hot female dungeon master, and she becomes she thinks she's the priest, her priestess, and at the end she ends up committing suicide.
I say, was there a nice baseline to it?
It was actually, I mean, it was kind of a cool story.
Do you remember the Chick
okay,
track?
yeah, I've
yeah,
seen
these
those
things,
before,
yeah. These stupid stories that Jack Trick would write in his spare time like an idiot and put them all over the place. And then his followers wound up reprinting a lot of them and making more of them and doing it and torturing people with these stupid things.
Was that like Mazes and Monsters, the one with Tom Hanks in it?
Yeah, I was probably inspired by it. That was actually a novel. Mazes and Monsters, the movie, was actually based off an actual novel.
That's a detective's novel, right?
Well, actually, there is a book called The Dungeon Master by the detective, what does it say? Dallas Edward or Howard. Anyway, I read that. Yeah, I read that book. And yeah, it was even at the end though. Like if you read the book, even at the very end of the book, he kind of admits that it was all a bunch of bullshit. Because when they find him, because it's like he went through all of this investigating, and then it turns out he was just, the kid was overly stressed. He ended up like running off to New Orleans, and matter of fact, it's like for the longest time he had no idea anybody was even looking for him.
Yeah,
it was a strange, but unfortunately, he in real life he ended up eventually actually committing suicide. Yeah. It was, but it had nothing to do with Dungeons and Dragons.
No, D&D was just
get that much. It's sad when people get that much into a game.
But nobody actually did. See,
it was just used as a scapegoat back then. They had to blame something, and D&D was the thing that they blamed.
Yeah,
well, I'm pretty sure there's plenty of people who kill themselves because of the game, but I'm pretty sure drugs were involved at somewhere in some time.
Sure. I mean, this was back in the late 70s, early 80s. But like I had to go through that myself, when drugs? I was young. You know what? Like one time my mom, I'm not even joking, man. One time my mom found a polyhedron. Remember the polyhedron news?
Yeah.
So she finds my polyhedron newsletter, right? And she's looking at it. She's like, once she figures out it was about Dungeons and Dragons, she flips out, and she's like, don't you know that polyhedron is a demon from the Bible?
That one I missed.
Please show me where in the Bible.
I know, dude. It's like, yeah, but that's the things that they would do to, And I remember one time I was like living with my aunt and uncle, and I walked in and there was one of these TV movies. There was like an anti-Dungeons and Dragons movie. It was about these kids that murdered their parents. Or a kid murdered his parents, and so I was like watching it,
I believe
and they were
that's
just
called the
making
Menendez
up
Brothers.
rules, man. The show was literally making shit up. Like there was this one rule they were saying, well, the mom and dad were stabbed like 70 something times, right? And then they're like, according to the rule, and they were like, according to rules, every time you stab somebody, you get experience points. So that's why they were stabbed so many times. And I'm like, that's not a rule. There's nothing even resembling that rule in anywhere. But they just
No,
made it
no.
up to reinforce this narrative.
That's why
Yep.
you do it through gold coins.
Yeah. They're like, if we stab them enough, gold coins will pop out of their bodies.
It's a pinata.
Definitely sounds like something with drugs were involved with that one.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's called the Menendez brothers, right?
No.
The
Menendez
Menendez brothers? No, that was a different story completely.
Oh yeah, that was a bunch of two rich brothers that decided
Yes,
to,
Kill
take out
their
their
parents to
parents,
get the
thinking
to
that
get
they
the
can get away with it.
inheritance. Yeah. So, do we agree? Urban story.
Oh man.
Oh, I never answered. I would
Oh, yeah.
probably like the country
You like the
one.
wilds?
Yeah, I like doing the wilds.
I mean,
I like both equal. I'm gonna be honest with you. I like both. It's hard to-
with the wilds, you don't have to deal with the inner city, but you do have to deal with towns, and you do have to deal with civil strife. And there's political intrigue. Like, one town wants to, take over the river and block it off from another town. There could be political stuff.
Oh yeah, I mean, sure, yeah, small town politics. But would a town be considered wilderness?
I mean,
You know what you
an
could do?
outpost,
You can have
small
you can
town.
have well, like what I would do if you wanted to have a story like that in the wilderness, you definitely want to involve, let's say, a druid circle. You're dealing with like the local druids,
Okay.
rangers, maybe even like the fae, like fairies, things of that nature. That can delve into a lot of different interesting directions. But if you wanted to stay in the wilderness, you need to have a solid reason why you're staying in the wilderness if you're not a ranger or a druid. Just like going out there and playing with your twig and berries for no no reason. You're just, there has to be some motivation. Because let me tell you something, man, the woods are scary.
They
All
can
right?
be.
Have you ever
They can
okay.
be.
Have you ever like spent time like in the woods, like a real forest where there's
Yes.
yeah, it's scary shit. And unless you have a good motivation for being out there, then I mean, I would have a solid motivation.
Maybe you just want to get away from the cities and everybody else.
Sure.
Have your
Well, I
own
mean,
little
there
cabin.
could be little villages out in the wilderness, and that doesn't count as an urban adventure. You've run into a little village here or there.
Yep. A campaign I ran for basic for Beckman. They actually had a whole entire kind of campaign set in Alfheim. And it was a lot of fun. I mean, they were dealing a lot. They had the little there was that little village that they had for like basically non-elves to hang out, and then they would go adventuring into the surrounding wilderness. And
Okay.
they got up to all kinds of shenanigans. Yep. So another thing is you want someplace to spend your gold, right? If you find treasure out in the wilderness, like somebody buried a chest or something. Well, I mean, the squirrels ain't gonna sell you anything. They're not gonna sell you nuts.
If it's
Go
my
back.
campaign, the squirrels will probably sell you something. So
They'll sell you something, all right.
No, I thought the treasure was the friends you made along the way.
yes, it's the relationships and the friendship they made along the way, Jeff. Thank you.
That's the real
Rob
treasure.
just doesn't understand that. So
Friendship.
Rob hates people. So
Yeah, there you go. I just want your gold. How much experience are you worth?
Stab.
72
just, like,
times.
stabbing people for experience.
Oh man.
Well, you do have to secure your gold if you want that experience. So I guess
Yeah,
you need
where
to
are you
have
gonna
the urban.
where are you gonna secure your gold in the middle of the wilderness?
Actually, here's a good question. Do you guys, when somebody finds a lot of money, do you allow them to just kind of video game style put it on their character sheets, or do you make them carry it, or do you like do something with it?
If it's that much gold, they can't carry it. So I've done it many times. Tell people you can only carry so much.
Yeah.
It still hasn't worked.
Well, except for the one character that had the friggin' replicating platinum pieces.
They're the size of what, dinner plates? You said.
Jeez. Yeah. See, that's the trick, man. It's like, what do you do when you actually get the dragon's hoard? It's because that comes with its own problems.
You start your own town.
There you go. Well, think about like in one of my big campaigns that I played in was the Dragon Mountain box set. You guys remember the Dragon Mountain?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Yep. And that was so we went through that box set, man. I mean, it's like by the time I was done, I was like a 17th level dwarven priest of war named Thorn Hammerhead. That was his name, Thorn
How long did you
Hammerhead.
play that campaign for?
Oh yeah, man, we were playing it for a while, man.
2
Because it was
sessions.
now we
It's 2 sessions. Long time, man. Like
no,
2 whole
we went through that
sessions.
thing. Dude, we were playing like marathon 12-hour, 14-hour game sessions
Jeez.
every week. So and I remember when we finally defeated the dragons and all that stuff, and we had Dragon Mountain to ourselves, we immediately started to turn on each other. Because it was kind of so funny because it's like everybody took a level of the mountain to do what they wanted to do with it. And so me being my dwarf, I was starting to write letters to my kin. It's like, come to Dragon Mountain so we can claim the mountain for ourselves. And all that stuff. It was pretty funny.
What were the other players doing?
Who cares about them? I'm just kidding.
It's about me and me, kid.
Only I matter.
We're gonna have to do
All right.
that.
Yeah, but dealing with tons of treasure. Oh, that should be maybe a separate subject. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a separate subject. But we should go on to the main part of it, finding a gaming group in your area. Because let's talk about that. So,
Okay. Yeah.
Are they an
actually,
urban group or a wild group?
Shut up. No, I don't like you, Jeff. I'm gonna go. Bye.
Boy.
Bye. Rob, since you're going through this actual thing right this second to try to find a group for your second edition game, tell me the things that you've been doing to find players for your group.
Well, here's the thing. It's like this is the modern day, right? So finding a group, especially if you're like, Discord, Roll20, all these things, to me, that's not the real question. The real question is finding the right group.
The right
Right?
players, yeah.
Yeah, the right players, the right group. Now I remember when I was young, when I was, teens, how did you ever go to the local game shop and see somebody know, and I would call them up and show up. I had no idea who these people were. I would just show up at their house, ready to game. That was something that you did back in the day.
Yeah, you go to the comic book shop, you see the little corkboard in the back.
Yeah.
Looking for player, call this number.
Yeah.
You'd be like, dude, can I come play? You'd be like, yeah, come to my house Saturday. I'd be like, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you could be walking into a murderer's house for
I know, right?
Come unarmed.
Yeah. So I mean that's the kind of stuff that we used to do when we were younger. But now, of course, with Discord, if most everybody is starting to kind of mostly play online. So it's just a keystroke away from finding a group. But like I said, the real question is, are these the right group of people you want to be playing with? Do you fit in? Do you fit into the group? Do you fit into the dynamic? Especially if it's a group that's been playing together for a while, and you have to kind of jump in and figure your place within their already set structure. But
that's why I do trials.
yeah. And I've had both major successes and failures on that front, both as a
Oh
player
yeah.
and as a game
Speaking of
master.
trials, Rob, you're out. By the way.
Oh fuck, man! But the
I'm kidding.
story of Smoothie Rhymes must continue. Who will take up the mantle?
Doc. Smoothie Doc Rhymes.
There you go. But no, actually,
Hey,
I'm glad you brought that up because uh I've been like, I've said this already before many times, but I think that we're having a lot of fun with the Shadowrun game. And
Definitely.
yeah, and I think that we all play off each other very well. And if you guys are like trashing me behind my back, just don't tell me. I'm just kidding.
You're like, fuck that Rob guy.
Yeah, I know, right?
We're constantly trashing each other, so we don't have enough time to trash other people. Sorry.
There you go. So, but anyway, it's like, are you with a group of people that you can play off each other?
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah, and with the group that because I've interviewed everybody. We're doing our session 0 tomorrow night. And
Step back one little bit. You said interviewed people. What were you asking them? What were you doing for the interview part? The people want to hear about that.
Well, you want to be conversational. You don't want to be like, asking a bunch of questions that might, that just impersonal. Because what you want to do is you just kind of if the conversation flows, right, is a good sign. And you talk about gaming, you talk about your philosophies, you talk about how you play in a very conversational fashion. This isn't a job interview,
but you are interviewing them.
You are, but you have to do it in such a way that it's inviting, it's friendly, non-judgmental. That's another thing.
Okay, what's
non-judgmental?
You're non-judgmental, fine. Okay, so you're interviewing them. What's a red flag? If you're talking to someone in your casual conversation, what's a red flag you're looking for?
A red flag is when players talk about absolutes. Like
so they're a Sith?
No. Like they have
that's a good call right there. You don't want cysts.
Yeah, well, like there are certain players where they'll be talking about something and they'll say certain things like, if somebody does this, it pisses me off. If somebody, or if the dungeon master does this, it pisses me off. They come across as very judgmental of, like you can kind of tell if somebody has such a narrow view of how the game is supposed to be played, right? With no leeway. Okay. And you can kind of just sense it. I've actually had to, or here's another red flag. When they're obviously not wanting to play the same game you are. And what I mean by that is that they'll say stuff like, if you're running a traditional Dungeons and Dragons game,
yeah,
and they go on and on how they hate combat, right?
Only Sith deal with absolutes, says the guy dealing with absolutes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And the thing about it is this is like just subtle clues. It's just like, and sometimes it just might be their personality, right? It's like, can you, if you're talking to somebody and they just have an abrasive personality,
like Jeff,
yeah, but like I said, that's like when I talk to people, when I interview people for my game, I'm just very conversational. Like I'm just trying to get a gist of who they are as a person, and sometimes they might on paper be right for the game. Like if you're looking at them and it's like it's like, well, on paper they looked great, but when you actually try to interact with them in a role play in that role playing way, you're like, golly, this is like, oil and water. It just doesn't mix.
Yeah.
So, like I said, be conversational and just see if you like the person, if you want to spend any amount of time with them. That's another thing. It's like, are you willing to spend time with this person? Because I mean, role playing is a very personal thing, right? You
Yeah.
have to get in character with another human being, be silly in a lot of ways. You have to feel comfortable with them. You know, are these people going to be judgmental? Are they going to
Right.
be, it's sort of like, when I was, telling Jeff about the guy that played the bard, right?
Yeah.
He was just, if, it was rubbing me the wrong way big time. And it was kind of, taking me out of the game a little bit because he was not committing to this role. And hopefully by just simply having a conversation with people, you can sense what their level of role playing skills are. Are they overly shy, right? You run into those people that are so shy that once the game starts, they just clam up,
And the sad
right? They
part
don't want to
is,
put them, yeah, they don't want to put themselves out there.
the sad part about that is what the guy you were telling me about, the bard,
Hmm.
apparently was an actor.
Yeah, yeah. And so with me, it wasn't he was shy or anything like that. It's just that I missed a cue that for some reason, like he just wanted to play a fighter, but like I said, overall he was still a good guy, and we're Facebook friends and all that stuff. But like I said, it's all about being conversational and just about getting to know the person a little bit.
Yeah, so no absolutes, no judging. Uh, Another thing is no real world, in my opinion. You're there for the game, not there for
Exactly. Yep.
outside stuff.
Yeah.
So if they want to start talking like politics, religion, all the red flags start flying up, like we're not here for that. We're here to play this game about a fantasy world, and I don't mean
Right.
just fantasy. I mean this sci-fi, but a world that's not ours.
You're right. To build off of what you just said, another thing is, and I hate to say this because I'm not trying to be judgmental on these people, but if it comes across that they have like a lot of emotional baggage that they want to bring to the table,
And by bringing emotional baggage, you mean
like for instance, they want to basically bring a lot of
Drama.
conditions, for you as a game master. It's like, no, you can't do this because it might trigger me. You can't do that because it might trigger me.
your consent is sitting at the table. If you can't handle it, go play somewhere
Yeah.
else. That's
Yeah,
basically it.
that's the thing. It's like I remember like listening to. Matter of fact, I was listening to Dark Days Radio, I believe.
Oh, Darker
Yeah.
Days Radio. When we
Yeah,
did
Dark-
that,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, they were talking about a situation where the host she was in a Vampire Masquerade game, and she was playing as Zemitzi, right? And Zemitzi's all about body horror. Okay. And so she was doing something with an eyeball or something like that. And then this triggered one of the other players. And I can't stand anything to do with eyeballs. And she said, okay, I'll never do that again. And I'm like, why? You're playing a Vampire the Masquerade game. You're playing a Zemitzi, which is the Zemitzi are body horror, pure and simple. And you're going to have your playstyle dictated by one person at the table who for some reason can't deal with an eyeball.
I mean, I hate spiders, but I mean, I play spiders in games, and
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like, and so like,
life, reality, and fake. So
exactly. It's like, and I understand there are lines you don't cross, but those lines are mostly common sense stuff, right? Like any type of sexual thing with children, you don't cross that line, right?
Yeah.
But when you're talking about just mundane, stuff like, a little bit of body horror or killing, I mean, stuff like that, and then somebody has a problem with it, and then they want to basically shackle you with their issues, with their baggage, that's something I have a problem with. And like I said, it's not to disrespect their issues. It's just that there are like literally how many role-playing games do you think are published right now, both past and present?
thousands, and thousands.
Tens
Exactly.
of thousands.
There are limitless options.
Just go to Drive Through RPG. There's probably a million on there.
Yeah, go find a game that fits, that won't trigger you. Don't play something like Vampire the Masquerade, where it's literally, think about it, vampires are walking, and I hate to use the word R or rape out, allegories. That's what they
They're
do.
adult contents, walking adult
Extremely,
contents.
you know. But yeah, it's like, to me, it's like the biggest red flag is when a player wants you to be their therapist. You know, I think that's probably the most annoying thing. I don't have time. I don't have time to be your therapist, man. So,
Yeah.
but like I said, it's not to downplay their issues.
No,
I just
no.
don't want to deal with their issues in the game.
I mean, for especially for a game like Vampire the Masquerade, that's the game's about walking, talking corpses and blood.
Yeah, the problem was allowing things you didn't see as a PT in the first place.
But and the same chord is the opposite of that. When they start getting way into their character, like a little bit too much.
I don't mind people getting into their character at all.
No, I don't mean like that. I mean like and adult themes and stuff like that. Instead of fading to
Yeah.
black and whatnot.
Oh yeah, fade to black,
Yeah.
fade to black.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, when
yeah.
they start describing in deep details about what they're doing, it's like, okay,
I
I
had to deal
understand.
with that a little bit in my last vampire game. I had
It's
two
kind of
players.
expected in Vampire though.
Yeah, it is, but it was constant. It
Oh,
was,
never mind.
yeah,
Okay.
it was like
Mm.
they were constantly. It was like they just wanted to live out their sexual anime
Their
fantasies.
fantasies, yeah.
They wanted their
And
fap
it was,
material for later.
yeah, it was just getting like one player. I still play. He's a great guy. Don't get me wrong, but me and the game master, one of the other players, we figured out that he has like a belly fetish because he's always doing something with he always plays female characters, which is fine. But they're always he's always like doing stuff with the belly, like he must be like belly dancer, or he's always trying to seduce people with his belly, and it's like it's just constant, man. It's all the time. We actually had to bring it up one time. We are like, "Hey, man, do you have a belly fetish?"
What'd he say?
Well, he was he was apologetic about it, and he's toned it down since. But we had to finally just bring it up, man, because it was like so obvious, because everything was and he would draw his characters, right? He would always draw these female characters, and they always had these like big kind of bulbous extended bellies. Yeah, it was weird, man.
Like
Interesting.
they were chubby or something, or
Yeah, it was like they were like a little bit on the big
chunky
bellies,
side,
you
like
know,
chunky.
something like-
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's hard to explain, but it was just something that we were picking up on quite a bit. But other than that, he's a great guy. Don't get me wrong.
He's an asshole, but other than that, he's a great guy. So.
He's a great
Yeah.
teacher. No, what?
Yeah.
He went to
But-
every P Diddy party. No, I'm kidding.
One of the best
1,000 bottles of
county
oil,
pastors
man.
you'll ever meet. Wait, what?
Whoa.
Yeah. But one of the things about the group is just it's like if you do whenever you this is why session 0 is so important, right?
I hate
And
that
I think
term.
it's very important for a group to make their at least develop the concepts for their characters together. That is so
The
important.
Starfinder group failed at that one.
Yeah. Well, here's a couple of things. One, you don't want to make a character that's going to be stepping on somebody else's toes because that causes resentment, right? If you end up coming to the table with almost the exact same character who's doing the exact same thing, then it's like it's all about who has the bigger personality, who becomes the runt of the litter, gets put on the back burner because what they're doing is not special anymore, right? It's a person with a dominant personality that is getting all the attention. Also, you need to see the game as not me as an individual, but us as a group. trying to have fun, because too many times, and I've seen this a lot, where you have a player and
Mhm.
they're more interested in role playing with the NPCs versus their fellow players. Have you ever seen that?
No, because our group likes to just entertain themselves, and I'll just sit there most of the time. So
Well, yeah, I've seen it, man. It's almost as if the other players barely exist, and they're there to make the like NPC allies, and so they'll constantly side with the NPCs over the other players, that type of deal. I've seen that, and they role play very little with the other players.
that's odd.
Um, yeah, I've seen it, which I always thought was really really strange.
Mm.
Um, but like I said, it's like to a certain extent, if you want a truly successful game and a group dynamic, put your ego aside. Help other people. That's one of the things that a lot of people don't realize. Help other people realize their characters. Help other people develop their characters. Now, it
What?
shouldn't just be about a bunch of individuals who happen to be in the same space, but help the group as a whole be productive. You know, if you know that a particular person has a storyline that they want to resolve, make yourself available. Say, hey man, how can I help you out? How can I help you with this issue? What can I do to help you facilitate your fantasy? You know, how
Whoa!
can
I
I
mean, you're part of a group, right?
how can I
I
make your
mean, group
fantasy come
people
true, right?
tend to help each other, right?
Yeah, and when everybody is working together like that,
It makes the dream work.
it makes the game so much better, you
Jeff,
know?
teamwork equals dream work.
Yeah, there you go.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that sometimes groups are just they do come across feeling as like you're a bunch of snowflakes standing who happen to be standing in the same room together, and you're wondering why the hell am I with you? What is my motivation for even talking to you? You know?
That's why I like to start with. That's why I liked. I saw this comment as it was coming in. Um, that's why I usually have the group know each other to some point, so that way we don't have to deal with that. But when
Exactly.
you came into the campaign that I was running for Shadowrun as an outsider, that melded with the group pretty well, so didn't
Well,
have
I
to
don't
worry
know.
about that.
what I
There,
did was here's what I did. Um, I latched on to certain aspects of, like for instance, Jeff's character with his clinic, right? Because I said, okay, well, what would give me a reason to talk to him? And I said, well, he's running a community clinic, right?
Hmm.
And I can kind of see my character being community oriented. And so that gave me a kind of a, and then I also probably heard how they were dealing with the drug situation.
yeah, it was the
And
drugs that majorly pulled you in.
right. And so, but it was multiple little things, that allowed me to even approach them. Right. And
Hmm.
if I was just some, elf on the corner, plying my wares, I mean, there would have been, hey guys, how you doing? Mind if I join you on your adventures? It would have just been,
Well, our elves usually just brewed on top of
yeah, yeah,
roofs.
So, but I have a feeling that if we created our characters together, right, they
Mhm.
would have even been more like for instance, like my character may have um grew up in the neighborhood, and like how long has the clinic been around? Maybe, I went to the clinic when I was, before I became a big rap star,
I would say
you know?
I'm pretty sure Smoothie and Doctor Dude is about the same age.
Yeah. So yeah, it's like, it's just finding it's all about finding common ground, I think. you know and if everybody creates their characters individually and then they come together, well, a lot of times there is no common ground, and the only reason you're in the same room is simply because the game dictates it, and that doesn't usually facilitate with very cooperative play.
No, I really like your idea of why is my character wanting to help these other people. I may have my own goals, but why, you know, does my
Because you're
goal only have to be with?
heroes.
Well, yeah, that's true, but there's so many heroes out there that you could align with. Why this particular group, you know, why would I want to help them? I'm not saying, like in a negative way, like think of it more of a positive way. Like what makes me want to help these people? What is it that I can do for them? Or what goal can we align?
Yeah. And here's another thing that a lot of people don't consider, right? So let's say your group. Okay, let's say your group, you've been together, you have that dynamic going. Somebody comes in and they just have this super radically different character that's like so, you know, different from the rest of the group. A
They're
lot
not
of people
they're
don't.
they're not heroes. They're just trying to save
Yeah,
their neighborhood. That's all.
I
there you
don't
go.
know. I
Well,
consider my character kind of a hero.
yeah, I think, well, but the point is like, think about it. You choose who you want to hang out with, right? So if let's say that somebody came up to you and they're the exact opposite of you in every way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to hang out with them? There's you have no common interest, no common anything. Would you choose to hang out with that person?
Is that a hot chick?
Let's say it's not hot, nothing. There's nothing about that
It's a hot
person.
dude.
It's a hot dude.
There's nothing about that person that you find interesting at all. Would you hang out with them?
No, you'd avoid them at all costs, probably.
Exactly, right? So I'm going to be honest with you, man. I don't have a problem with, let's say that somebody has a particular character that just doesn't seem to fit, and if the group wants to veto that character, I think it's actually a good idea. Because I say rip off the band-aid now, make that player roll up something that's actually going to fit with the rest of the players who is going to be on the same page. Because I mean, come on, we've all been there where you have that one player constantly wanting to go off by themselves to do side missions and do their own thing that has nothing to do with the rest of the group because they don't have anything
Jeff's
in
laughing way too
common.
much.
Jeff, are you feeling that one?
Nah, I recognize some of the qualities from a couple of our sessions. Not me in particular, but a few characters that we have run in against. That we've run into uh, that have exhibited that habit.
Hmm. Well, and I'm not talking about someone who just wants to like you're trying to do the same thing as everybody else. You just have your own little flair to it. I'm talking about someone who's so off the reservation. It's like their their whole entire purpose in the game is simply not to do what everybody else is doing. Have you ever seen that? They're like constantly sneaking off by themselves, constantly wanting to do their own little missions. Like you see a lot of that, like someone who wants to play an assassin, somebody who wants to play those characters, the edge lords, you
Mhm.
know, that they
Priest.
run. Yeah. They don't want help from the other, they don't want help from the other characters, you know.
What are you talking about,
I've seen
priest,
that.
Jeff? Why would a priest
Yeah.
want to do that?
Oh, I don't know. Greed. Wanted their own power.
Yeah.
wanted to do their own thing.
Yeah.
A priest? Okay.
Yeah. In realistic situation, if you were really there and you had this one character that was constantly going on, you would just say, you know what, man, we're kicking you out of the group.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
I
like
mean, that's what, you know.
it's like a priest or a shepherd. Yeah.
Yeah. But there's a little bit of this attitude that because we're playing a game, everybody has to be included no matter what they play. And to be
Right.
honest with you, I think that can ruin the game. If people don't put their foots down or their feet and say, no, your character's too edgelord and he wants to be by himself and wants to, yeah, come up with a different character that's actually going to fit.
Now
Right.
we've eliminated people from our group that were like that, and they came back with different attitude, but then kind of slid back into the same thing all over again.
Yeah. So I guess the ultimate, like I said, the ultimate answer to the group thing is just, it's like chemistry, man. You have to find the
What's right
group
for
that your
you?
chemicals mix with their chemicals, you know, and a lot of times they don't. And it's not necessarily the player's fault, and it's not necessarily the game master's fault. I mean, it happens, man. You could be the greatest player, the greatest dungeon master in the world, but if you're not clicking with a player or you're not clicking with a dungeon master, it's not gonna work.
Yeah, I've had that before, and I've ran some games, and there's this one player that I always felt was this was a long time ago. The one player I felt like he always angrily played in the game. I don't know if you understand that, but like you could sense like the tension or the anger from this person, but he
Mhm.
still showed up every week to play. So, and it was online, so I don't understand because most people online just ghost people
Yeah.
very easily. So I don't understand why he kept showing. But I always felt like this, like he was angrily playing the game.
Maybe that was his character.
Or maybe he had a lot of real life stuff going on and he was carrying that negativity into the game.
That's probably
All
what
right.
it was.
So let me ask the question. All right. So
Would you rather? Oh, sorry.
we agree that chemistry is a major part of the finding a group dynamic, but what's a good way to find a group so you can actually start doing that?
There's various resources online to do that now these days, like meetup.com, for example.
That's how we
Reddit.
met.
Yeah. Reddit is one too. You can go on Reddit. You can go to Roll20 forums too. You can go local Facebook groups for your town. Reddit has your own town forums as well. Go there. I've seen lots of people in mine saying, "Hey, you want to play some D&D?" And then like we have a bar here in our town that people play D&D. It's called the D20 Tavern. And you can go there and play D&D like every night if you wanted to.
Yeah.
And,
And I think there needs to be a distinction between, like, what if you want to, because we've been kind of focusing on online groups, but live groups, in-person groups, right?
I was talking about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like you said, like that tavern you said, I think the first step you should do is meet these people in a public setting, like the D20 tavern that you just mentioned. Say, hey, you want to meet there for dinner, whatever.
It's funny that we do that now, but back then we just went over people's houses.
Yeah.
I say, but you have to understand post-pandemic world.
Yeah, and also and plus I think that a lot of people, it's safety thing, right? You don't want to like show up at somebody's house and they got a big swastika like in their window, and they're
Jeff was going a different direction with that big sentence there. So
you don't want to just show up at somebody's house and you don't know them.
let me ask you this. You go to a guy's house for the first time, and I had a friend that was in this situation, and he went to this guy's house, and the guy was a war gamer. So he had like tons of wargaming stuff for World War II across his basement, his table, and everything like that, which included realistic or historical figures.
Flags of figures.
Flags.
Sure.
Right. So obviously the Germans, we'll call them the Nazis because that's what they are.
Yep.
He had a whole army of them. And he had like a whole side. It was decorated for the game. It's not like the guy had Mein Kampf on the shelf, or he had a picture of Hitler, posing
That was in his
like
bathroom.
that was in his bathroom. Yeah. He liked to play the World War II games, and he liked to play historically correct. Nothing wrong with that. He said a dude literally came over to the house to play D&D. He came in, he sat down, he saw the stuff, he started looking at it, he picked up his books and left and called the dude a Nazi and never came back.
That's ridiculous.
That's one of those absolutist things that Rob was talking about earlier.
Yeah, that's because here's the thing, man. If he's going to be triggered by something like that, and not like looking at things in context, then
Yeah.
I guarantee you this is the mofo that's going to rage quit sooner or later.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
and-
Context is a big thing. I agree, Rob.
yeah, it's like now, like I said though, did he see these flags on the table like as part of miniatures? I hope he wasn't like looking up at the wall and seeing a big freaking Nazi flag just dangling on the wall. That would probably be like sent me running. But if you're talking about like it was just on the table, in other words, there was, it was obviously Nazi units, things of that nature.
Miniatures.
That that's
The
fine.
biggest thing he had was a flag that was probably about this big on a little pedestal. That was where the home base was.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's
But
ridiculous.
the context was there was miniatures around. It obviously that he was a war gamer.
Yeah, it was set up for a war game. The guy had it set up, and he looked like he was in the middle of playing a game, and then they stopped or whatever.
Yeah.
I wasn't there, so I don't know the situation. I just know that the minis were out on the table, and of course he was painting whatever his minis too. So, and yeah, he did. I looked at it. The biggest thing he had was probably the size of my phone right here,
Mhm.
as on a pedestal and maybe the flag was probably about that big.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that was kind of dumb. And
I mean, his
guarantee
bedroom
he would have
wasn't
raged quit
draped
about
in
something
it.
else.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
not been to his bedroom, Jeff, so I wouldn't know.
Well, maybe that's what would happen. Maybe the guy went to his bedroom. It's like, uh-oh.
It was in
But
his basement, so I don't know.
Yeah. Now, one of the things, and this is kind of because for some reason this kind of reminded me of something, but it's what I've found over the years is that the players that you coddle the most, the players that you try to please the most, they've always been the ones that rage quit over stupid shit. Like, seriously, man, I've had so many situations where I've bent over backwards for a player, giving them the benefit of doubt left and right, doing all this other stuff, working with them, and then they'll find something. They'll find something to get mad about, even if it's dumb, and they'll just rage quit because this. And I hate to say this, so if you run across a player that's constantly asking for stuff, constantly asking for little things like, oh, can I do this? Can I do that? Can I do this? Don't do it. Say nope, because every single time I've given in to these guys, they're the ones that end up like getting mad over something so dumb and just rage quitting on the spot. They're not worth coddling, you know, at all. And I've had this situation happen to me way too many times. And I don't know if you've had similar experiences.
Yeah, I have some players in my group that constantly want things.
Yeah,
I
and
invent
like,
things. I don't want things.
yeah, it's.
I didn't
had
say
this-
Jeff. I just said I have some players that want
Stop
things.
blaming me,
Oh
Vince.
my god! I had this player. I had this player in a phase rip game I was running, and he
Mhm.
had this. He had this like really complicated character, and I would get constant text messages from him with these huge, like almost essay length things about what he wants to do with his character, how he wants to modify his character, and all this other stuff.
Oh.
And I'm just being like, okay, you can do that, blah blah blah, and I don't have to read over. I mean, it was constant, nonstop barrage, right? And then this mofo freaking rage quits because he didn't like that we were that I was using the dodge rules correctly for once, because I even said like the week before, I said, hey guys, we've been kind of messing up on certain rules, so starting next week we're going to kind of clamp down on how we're going to do this. And so
And that's
with
what
that
a good DM would do: admit his mistake and say, "Hey,
Yeah.
we're gonna correct it going forward."
yeah, and then the very next week when I'm like using the actual real dodge rules, he's like, what? No, that's not what you've been doing. Oh, that's not what we blah, 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 blah.
Did you miss the message?
I said, and he was not, he just did not listen. And we got in a little bit of an argument, and
He was done?
he ended up he ended up quitting. And I was like, good riddance, man. Was not having to wade through those essay long messages about his character.
I had a player who did that to me too, but then again, that player was, I guess, into me, and I didn't realize it. So I didn't see it in her, but my wife did. So
It's that spidey sense, man.
But I think the main thing is, before you start looking for a group, is to know yourself first. Know what you want to play. the
Mhm.
times you can play and the kind of group you want. Because if you can't, if you're just looking for a general group, you're going to find all sorts of people. But if you look for a specific group for a specific time, doing a specific game, that's going to help you out the most.
Yeah,
And if
that's
you
a
just
really
get
good
the,
point.
if you get the itch where you just like, I don't care, I want to play, you're rolling the dice. You're going to find all sorts of groups.
Yep. Know thyself. You know what you want. I think that's actually a problem with a lot of players. They don't really know what they want.
Mhm.
You know.
Would you rather
Oh, there you go.
play in a pug, which is a pickup group that only happens, as a pickup group, or would you rather play in a constant group with a bunch of people that you sometimes can't stand?
That's a good point.
So you're going to going from pug to pug, never actually being in a campaign because you're just jumping from group to group, or would you join a group like Jeff is saying just to roll the dice because you just want to role play in the game, and maybe there's like a person or two that rubs you the wrong way?
Oh, that's a tough one. No,
Jeff.
no, that's genuinely a tough one because do you want I guess it's like, do you want a shallow happy experience or a deep miserable? Oh
Depends on how
man.
drunk I am. I mean,
Well, let me ask you something. It's like, are these people that you can't stand? Are these
This
like
is all
does the
online. This is all
game
online.
okay, like does the game constantly like grind to a halt, or
No, it's just like it's a standard, it's a standard group, and everybody
petty
just
stuff.
these. It's just, yeah, like people will fight, they'll bicker in character,
um,
or they'll, like they said, they go off on their own or something, or maybe they say like snarky remarks to you when you're role playing, like backhanded, like not compliments, backhanded
right, I get
insults,
you. I get you.
Backhanded insults.
No, I've been man, I've no, I've been there, man.
indirect insults. It's like they're insulting you, but you don't realize it until later on. You're like, hey, like that.
You know the saying that's been going around, um, no D&D is better than bad D&D.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That it might apply here
So you just
because
not play at all.
well, the thing about it is if you are in a game that you're miserable in or people are constantly picking on you, why would you want to I mean, why would you want to play in that? I mean, do you have fun by the end, or are you like uh, being felt? Do you feel picked on? Do you feel miserable? And it's like one of those things where you're just compelled to play. I mean,
You're not miserable. You're just like, you go to the game, you look forward to the game, you play the game, and you're just like, ugh.
That particular person is an asshole.
now is it just one person or is it several?
We'll say it's 2 people in the group out of 4, and you're one of the 4.
I hate myself in this game.
I'm gonna be honest with you, man. If I felt
And at the end of the
that,
game, you're like, oh, cool, I had a good time. The story was great. The DM was awesome, but Jeff was a dick the whole time, or Jeff was an asshole, and he
Get
insulted
used to
me.
it, bitch.
He insulted me, and he took me out of my safe space because he called me a moron, and I didn't like
that scenario may or may not have happened.
it. I may or may not be basing that off a real life situation, but
I think
the
this
names are
might
purely
be,
coincidental.
I think that, okay, I think this would be the kind of the deciding factor. When they're going after your character, are they doing it in character or are they doing it person to person?
In character.
Either or.
Now, here's the thing: if it was like an in character thing, like let's say they insult me, but it's in character, right? I can handle that. It's when players take their beef outside of the role play and they turn it into real beef. That's what I can't stand. I can sit there and I can have a contentious relationship with a fellow player through character through role play, but and laugh about it later. But man, but once you make it like a personal, once you step away from the game and start attacking me as a person, then we have a problem.
Yeah, once you cross that line.
You know, because like I said, I've been there, and I think that's actually another thing a lot of people have a problem with. They cannot distinguish between themselves and their characters.
There's a lot of people these days with that. Yeah.
You know,
But
yeah.
what would you rather do in that situation
I'm
before
gonna be
you're
honest with
skirting
you.
around it?
If it was, I would say, look, man, it might be a shallower experience, but at least it's not a miserable experience. So I'd probably do the pickup games.
Yeah, you're not miserable in the pickup games, but you just go, "Oh, that was a good game, man. I wish I could keep playing with that guy, but he's just like he's not always there and
It's a
yada
bunch of one
yada."
shots, man. It's just like a lifetime of one shots.
Yeah, whatever the situation is, it's there and it's just one shots. Different people all the time.
Yeah, yeah,
Maybe once in a while the same person pops in and out like you.
yeah,
So,
yeah. But at least you're not, like I said, at least you're not miserable. Um,
what about you,
yeah,
Jeff?
If I'm going to feel miserable inside a continuous game, I'd rather do
I
pickup
mean, it's not like you're
games.
miserable, but it's just the experience overall with the players isn't fun. Like I said, the story is awesome. The DM's awesome. He pays perfect attention to you. He gives you a story arc, and you're having fun with that.
Well, I mean, the game's fun, but if I feel worse leaving than I did joining the game, then yeah, I'd rather do. I mean, it doesn't matter how good the game is. Even if I'm enjoying the game, if I feel worse leaving than I did joining, I don't want to feel miserable. I'm not gonna.
yeah.
I'm not gonna play in that game.
This just reminds me too much of experiences I had the last few years. Like I had a situation like this in a vampire game, and we were
It's always
playing.
the vampire games.
Well, well, there was this one
There's a
guy.
lot of emotional people that play Vampire the
Yeah,
Masquerade.
that's the thing, man. I got a lot of horror stories with vampire. But there was this one guy that he was like this major know-it-all.
And he
He
loved Hot
was like he
Topic.
would get like here's the thing, my character was playing I was playing a Brujah, so yeah, I was doing some, but nothing like super outrageous. And instead of like being like mad at my character in character, he stepped away from the character and was mad at me as a player. You see what I'm saying? And let
For
me tell you something, man.
instance, what did he do?
I mean, he would just like accuse me like playing a cliche and all this other shit and like
Okay, yeah.
but the problem was he was playing a cliche because he was playing a daughter of Cacophony, and he did nothing original with his character. Matter of fact, guess what he did? Oh, he started a nightclub. Geez, I've never been in a vampire game where somebody did start a nightclub. You know what I mean?
I've got that in D&D 5th edition when I played a paladin, a human paladin. You're like, why are you playing a human? That's not efficient to the class. That's stupid. Because that's what I want to play.
Yeah. So anyway, we would get into these like personal arguments. And like for instance, like I remember because we were playing in like the 1970s, right?
Is it like
So this is
sexual
when, like,
tension?
so basically, and we were playing in Gary, Indiana, which I've played. It's just kind of funny. Okay, I
the
have
most
some
sexual place there is.
Yeah. See, I've admit. Did you ever play the Gary, Indiana setting for Vampire?
No, we were either in Chicago, New York, or Connecticut.
Okay. So I ran multiple chronicles in Gary. Okay. And so when the storyteller, he was telling me, oh, I want to run it in Gary and stuff like that. I was just like, I just kept my mouth shut because every time he would come up with an idea, it would kind of get shot down. And then he said he wanted to do Gary. And I said, you know what? I'm not going to tell him that I like kind of know this setting inside and out. But what I did was I played it as if I knew nothing because I know how to separate myself from my character.
Okay.
And so he was yeah, he was really like railroading us like big time, which I was kind of going along with. I was just okay, whatever. But the player who was playing the daughter of Cacophony, like there was this one scene where I lured this guy into an alley because he refused to, or he insulted me in this club. And I said, so I lured him in an alley, with the promise of drugs, and then I just beat him to death,
Awful.
As you do.
Yeah.
As you do.
Yeah. And like everybody was getting mad at me that being a vampire actually killed somebody. And I'm like, dude, we're playing fucking vampire. Okay, see, here's the thing, man. I read all the Anne Rice books. I read tons of, and everybody wants you to play Lewis instead of Lestat. You know,
Yep.
and I'm like, and let me tell you something, man. When I run a vampire game, there there ain't no limits, man. You be as fucking evil as you want.
Well,
Because if there's a
You're
game
an
for you to
evil
be
creature.
evil, yeah.
did you
If
not
there's
use
a
the
game for you to be evil, it's vampire.
did you not use the paths? Like, 'cause I used to play Path of the Bone all the time because that was let me do whatever I really wanted.
I think I was still technically like a Path of Humanity, but because I didn't have, because you have to actually go through kind of an ordeal to switch to, to
Well,
a path.
I complained a lot because I was like, I want to kill this guy. Well, the DM's like, well, you're going to lose some humanity for doing it. I'm like, I'm a vampire. Why wouldn't I kill someone for blood? Well, it's not what
Exactly,
vampires are supposed
man.
to do. So I'm like,
Yeah.
what is it? What can I
Well,
do? And he's
what?
just like,
Hold on.
yeah.
What does these guys think you're supposed to do? Drink tomato
Like,
juice?
buy it from like the ambulance corp or something like that.
Well, no, you're supposed to. Here's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to gently sink your teeth into their neck and gently draw the blood from them in a loving caress, and then you lick their neck, and then and you sit them on. It's like basically everybody wants you to play Lewis. They don't want you playing Lestat. There's a reason Lewis only got one book, Interview with a Vampire, and every other book was about Lestat.
How do you
Because
get
Lestat
your
was
There's a reason for
interesting.
that.
So
how do
I
you get your
changed the
blood?
Path of the
Hot
Bone so I can go
pockets.
around and kill people when I
Yeah.
needed blood and
Yeah.
not have to worry about losing humanity. I hated that rule. It's like,
Yeah.
why? Makes no sense in Vampire.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I knew what level I wanted to be around, like Humanity 4, right? Because for one thing, my character, she was like a punk rock chick, and she was already a criminal before she became a vampire, right? And and so yeah, and they would just get mad like every time I did anything vampire-y, like he got mad because we were like going into this abandoned church, right? And there's a scene where we find a homeless family. It was like a woman and her two kids. And so they're trying to be all nice to him and blah, blah, blah. And I'm standing in the background and I just say, yeah, I just kind of flash my fangs at them just real quick. Right. And they fucking flipped out. And they're like, oh, they're going to tell, blah, blah. And I'm like, who's going to believe some homeless people? Going to what are they going to do? Go to the police station and report that there's a vampire in the abandoned church? I mean, they just took it to ridiculous levels. And here's the thing: I don't mind in-house consequence. For instance, the body, right? Like the guy that I killed in the alley. Of course, they had somebody investigating it and stuff like that. That's fine. Bring it on. Let them investigate. Because that creates story. If I was Miss Goody Two Shoes every freaking minute, where's the story? Where's the vampire story?
There isn't one.
There
Well,
isn't.
let me ask you a question. That guy you beat to death in the alley.
Mm-hmm.
Did you beat him? Did you just kill him, or did you end up like taking his blood?
I think I took a little blood, but mostly I just because I was mad that because remember I'm playing a Bruja, right? And so we're in the club and I'm trying.
You're gonna have to explain that to Jeff because he doesn't know that they're basically the thugs.
Bruja is like
I'd say the rebels, the thugs.
Yeah, the rebels. The
Mhm.
ones that are always like fighting against society and things of that nature.
The punks.
And this guy, he was like a rich yuppie, and he like insulted me. And so then I like lured him into an alley, and I beat him to death.
No,
like a Bruja would, right?
What I'm thinking is like even if you had someone investigate, the point of Vampire the Masquerade is to keep the masquerade hidden, right? Keep vampires hidden from the rest of the world. So they would investigate and be like, I don't understand what's going on here. It looks like someone just killed this dude.
Yeah.
Without any other evidence.
Here's another thing. We were in Gary, Indiana, a fucking dangerous freaking city. All right. If you like go online and look up documentaries on Gary. It is, matter of fact, did you know that Gary is what inspired Vampire the Masquerade?
Is that the abandoned city?
Yeah, it's like basically a good
yeah.
30 or 40% of the buildings are abandoned.
Yeah.
And
schools and everything abandoned. Yep.
yeah, there's like it's like ruins, man. I don't know how it is now. They may have started to turn things around, but because you have to understand, Gary used to be a steel town, right?
Mhm.
And so what happened was when the car industry and like basically dried up and went away, like into Detroit. Well, the steel industry was quick to follow because there were no more cars, So a bunch of people moved out. Gary just became a hellhole. So this was not like it was a nice neighborhood, right? It wasn't like I killed somebody in Malibu, and left their bodies on the street. It was Gary, Indiana, and I guarantee you, the only reason that they would have investigated is because it was probably a guy from a rich family, because he was like some rich yuppie guy. So, and I 100% understand that, and I invite that kind of thing within the context of the game, you
Right.
know. But the problem is they stepped out of the game to confront me as a person, as a player, and acting as if I was trying to sabotage the game,
That sounds familiar.
But yeah, and it's so funny because, like I said, they were not doing anything like original. He was just playing a daughter of Cacophony who wanted a nightclub. Just typical stuff you see every single vampire game.
All right. Well, we have to get going. It's time to wrap up the
Oh.
show for tonight. Rob, thank you
It was
for
a good show.
I felt so special tonight. Thank you.
If you are interested in guesting on this show, you can email me to askthedm@theevildm.com, and we can coordinate possibly having you on the show, as long as you're available during the time we stream. So that's the coordination. With that said, Rob, get out. No, I'm kidding. Thank you for stopping by, Kill Raven, World of Wonders, and everyone else that have been watching in the background. Don't forget to hit the like and